Welcome to the Sleep Carriage. My name is Christopher. Tonight we are heading to the ocean, a place so vast and powerful that, let's be honest, you probably wouldn't survive for very long lost at sea. But from the safety of our beds, it might just be the most relaxing place on earth. It is a world of gentle rhythms and ancient, quiet processes, a place that connects us all. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It's a quiet, simple way to support these little journeys. And in the comments, if you feel like it, let us know where in the world you're listening from and what time it is. It's always comforting to see this little community of calm spread out across the sleeping globe. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your journey begins not in the water, but beside it. You are lying on a vast expanse of sand, still warm from a sun that has just dipped below the horizon. The sky above is a deep, bruised purple, fading to a soft orange at the edge of the world. There are no clouds, only the first faint pinpricks of stars beginning to assert themselves in the growing dark. You can feel the texture of the sand beneath you. It's not the hot, sharp sand of midday. This is the cool, heavy sand of evening. You dig your fingers into it, letting the millions of tiny grains cascade through your hands. Each one is a miniature stone, a fragment of a mountain, a piece of a seashell, or a shard of volcanic glass, polished smooth by a journey that may have lasted thousands of years. The rhythm of the earth is held in your palm. You think about where this sand came from. Some of it, especially the brilliant white sand of tropical beaches, has a rather surprising origin. It passed through the digestive system of a parrotfish. These colorful fish spend their days nibbling on coral, digesting the algae and expelling the inorganic coral skeleton as fine, perfect grains of sand. An entire beach, a whole landscape to rest upon, created as the byproduct of a fish's lunch. It's a strange and wonderful thought. The world is built on such quiet, unassuming cycles. You become aware of the air. It's thick with salt, a clean, sharp scent that feels like it's scouring your lungs, washing away the day. With every breath you feel a little lighter. The constant, gentle pressure of a sea breeze presses on your skin, a blanket you can feel but not see. It rustles something in the dunes behind you, a dry, whispering sound of grass against grass. But your attention is not on the dunes. It's on the sound in front of you. The endless, rhythmic advance and retreat of the waves. Crash. And the soft, fizzing drag of the water as it pulls back into the hole. Crash. It's a sound we are born to find soothing. A heartbeat. A breath. A steady, predictable pattern in a world that is often anything but. You focus on that sound, letting it fill your mind. You've heard it your entire life, but have you ever truly thought about what you're hearing? That wave, the one that just broke, was likely born hundreds, if not thousands, of miles away. It began as a tiny disturbance, a little ripple on the surface of the water caused by wind. Just the friction of air moving over water. That's all it takes. This small ripple catches more wind and it grows. It joins with other ripples. Out in the deep, open ocean, these nascent waves are called a sea. It's a chaotic, choppy surface, with waves of all sizes and speeds moving in various directions, dictated by the storm or weather system that created them. But as they travel away from their source, a remarkable thing happens. They sort themselves out. The longer, faster waves outrun the smaller, slower ones. The energy becomes organized, transforming from a chaotic sea into a steady, rhythmic swell. The swell can travel across an entire ocean basin. A storm off the coast of Japan can create a swell that will, a week or so later, arrive as a perfectly gentle rolling wave on a beach in California. The water itself doesn't travel that distance. The individual water molecules are just moving in a slow, circular orbit like a cork bobbing up and down. It's the energy, the idea of the wave, that makes the epic journey. The energy passes through the water, leaving the water behind. A silent, invisible force traveling across the globe. It's only when this deep, organized energy reaches the shallows that it finally announces itself. As the seabed rises, the circular motion of the water particles begins to drag along the bottom. The wave is forced to slow down, and as it does, it grows taller, compressed by the shallowing depth. It rises and rises, curling over itself until it can no longer support its own weight. And then it breaks. This is the moment you see the beautiful white crest of the crashing wave. And the sound, that famous soothing sound. Is not the sound of water hitting sand. It is the sound of millions upon millions of tiny bubbles being created and instantly popping. As the wave curls and breaks, it folds air into the water, creating a turbulent, frothy mixture. The sound is a chorus of tiny, bursting pockets of air. A sound of immense energy being gently released. It is the final exhalation of a long, long journey. You listen now with this new understanding. You can almost hear the story in it. The distant winds, the vast open ocean, the silent journey of energy, and the final bubbly sigh as it all comes to an end on the shore in front of you. The rhythm of life. Of course, not everything about the ocean is so easily explained. While the life cycle of a typical wave is well understood, sailors and scientists still speak of rogue waves. These are monstrous, impossibly large waves that seem to appear from nowhere, far larger than any of the surrounding waves. Some historical accounts describe them as vertical walls of water. For a long time they were considered maritime myths, the tall tales of tired sailors. But satellite data has since confirmed they are very real, though thankfully rare. How they form, how so much energy can suddenly coalesce into one spot in the open ocean, is still a matter of scientific debate. Some theories suggest it's a complex interaction of wave patterns. Others look to seabed topography, but no one knows for sure. It's a good reminder that for all we know, the ocean still holds its mysteries close. You feel the sand beneath you again, and another strange phenomenon comes to mind. On some beaches, under just the right conditions, the sand itself can make a sound. It's been described as singing, whistling, or booming. As you walk on it, or as the wind blows across the dunes, it can emit a low, resonant hum, almost like a cello. It requires the sand grains to be of a very specific size and shape, perfectly spherical and containing silica, and for the humidity to be just right. Scientists believe the sound comes from the friction of these perfect spheres sliding against each other, creating a coherent vibration, but the exact physics are still debated. A whole beach humming a quiet song to itself in the twilight. You let that thought settle. The world is full of these quiet magics, these bits of science that sound like poetry. The fish that creates an island. The energy that crosses a planet to make a sound. The sand that sings. You listen to the waves. Crash. A breath in and a breath out. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to be anywhere else. You are just here on the edge of the great mysterious water, listening to the rhythm of the world. And it is time to rest. The constant, gentle sound is a lullaby, performed by the planet itself. Let it wash over you. Let it carry you down into a deep and peaceful sleep. The gentle sound of the waves breaking on the sand begins to change. As you wander in your mind's eye along the water's edge, the soft ground gives way to something more solid. You are now standing on a wide shelf of dark, wet rock, slick and glistening under the starlight. The tide is out. The ocean has pulled back its blue blanket for a few hours, revealing a secret world that is neither truly land nor truly sea. This is the intertidal zone, a world between worlds. You step carefully across the uneven surface. The air here smells different. It's richer, a complex perfume of salt, wet stone, and the deep, green scent of seaweed. The great, roaring voice of the open ocean is now a distant whisper. The dominant sounds here are smaller, more intimate. A soft dripping of water from a high ledge into a pool below. A gentle gurgle as a pocket of trapped water finds its way out. It is a quiet, temporary kingdom. This entire landscape, this brief revealing of the ocean floor, is a gift from the moon. As it hangs in the sky, impossibly far away, our moon exerts a gentle, persistent gravitational pull on the Earth. It's too faint for us to feel, but the great fluid bodies of the ocean feel it as a steady, cosmic tug. The water on the side of the Earth facing the moon is pulled into a slight bulge. And strangely, the water on the opposite side of the planet bulges out as well, as the Earth itself is pulled slightly toward the moon, leaving the water behind. These two bulges are the high tides. As the Earth spins on its axis, every coastline journeys through these two bulges of high water, and the two shallow troughs of low water in between. It is a slow, powerful, and utterly reliable dance, a planetary rhythm set by our silent, orbiting partner. You kneel down beside one of the countless pools the receding tide has left behind. A tide pool. It is a perfect, miniature ocean, captured in a basin of rock. The water is crystal clear and perfectly still, the surface a flawless mirror reflecting the stars above. For the creatures within, this little pool is their entire universe for the next few hours. They are waiting. The rhythm of their life is this patient waiting for the ocean to return. You gaze into the still water, letting your eyes adjust. At first you see nothing but stone and shell. But then life begins to emerge as if by magic. On the side of the rock is something that looks like a thick, rubbery flower. It is a sea anemone, its tentacles swaying gently in a current only it can feel. They are a beautiful, venomous trap, a living blossom waiting for a tiny fish or shrimp to brush against it. But for now, it is simply a spot of soft color in the dark, patiently waiting for its world to be renewed. When the sun comes out and the tide is still low, it will pull all its tentacles inward, becoming a tight, unimpressive blob to conserve every precious drop of moisture. A life of opening and closing, of blooming and retreating, all in time with the tide. Clinging to the rocks all around the pool are what look like little conical hats. These are limpets. They seem completely immobile, as much a part of the rock as the stone itself. But they are living creatures, and they are engaged in one of the most rugged lifestyles imaginable. During the high tide, they will wander away from this spot, grazing on algae across the rock face. And this is where their peculiar magic lies. A limpet uses a tongue-like ribbon called a radula, which is covered in microscopic teeth. And these teeth, scientists have discovered, are made of a composite of iron and protein called gethite, making them the strongest biological material ever tested. Stronger than spider silk, stronger even than high-tech carbon fiber. Your hands are rough from a day's work. The limpet's tongue can scrape a living from bare stone. After its slow, arduous journey, the limpet will always return to this exact spot. Its home scar. It is a specific depression in the rock that the limpet has carved out with its shell over years, a perfect fit that allows it to seal itself against the stone to keep from drying out when the tide recedes. And how it finds its way back to this precise spot, sometimes from meters away, is still a source of wonder and debate. Some researchers believe it follows a slime trail it left behind, while others suspect it uses a kind of memory or an unknown sense to navigate the rock face. It is a quiet mystery, the story of a tiny, stubborn creature that always finds its way home. You see a flicker of movement. A small crab, no bigger than your thumbnail, sidesteps out from under a curtain of seaweed. It moves with a delicate, precise caution, picking at the algae with its tiny claws. Its whole world is this pool, its greatest adventure a journey to the other side. It is a reminder that life doesn't need to be large to be complete. A little periwinkle snail makes its slow, steady way up the side of a stone, its tiny mouth scraping, always scraping, leaving a faint trail in its wake. The sound of its shell making the tiniest click against the rock is almost too quiet to hear. There, in the center of the pool, is a sea star. Its 5 arms are arranged in perfect symmetry, its orange skin a startling contrast to the dark rock. It is not moving, but it is deeply alive. It represents an ancient form of life, a design that has been successful for over 450 million years. You watch it, a living piece of geometry resting. Should a meal like a mussel be nearby, the sea star has a patient, unusual way of eating. It can slowly pry the shell open with its powerful arms, and then, in a strange and efficient process, it can push its own stomach out through its mouth and into the shell, digesting its meal externally. A quiet, hidden process, another of the strange and wonderful solutions that life in this zone has devised. Everything here is a master of survival. These creatures are baked by the sun, then frozen by the cold night air. They are blasted by ferocious waves and then left high and dry for hours. They endure fresh water from the rain and water that becomes increasingly salty as it evaporates. And yet they thrive. Their existence is a testament to the power of patience, of holding on, of waiting for the tide to turn. The rhythm of life here is stark and demanding, but it is a rhythm they have mastered. You can just begin to hear it now. A subtle shift in the sound of the ocean. The water is returning. The first small channels of seawater begin to trickle back into the higher pools. It is a promise. The great, life-giving ocean is coming back to reclaim its own. For the anemone, the limpet, the crab, the wait is almost over. Their tiny, captured universe is about to be reconnected with the vast, breathing whole. You feel the gentle, hypnotic pull of that rhythm in your own body, the rise and fall of your chest, the in and out of your breath. Like the tide, it is a steady, reliable comfort. Let the returning water soothe you. Let the patient waiting of the tide pool creatures teach you how to rest. There is nothing to do but be still, and let the gentle tide of sleep wash over you. The tide has returned. The water that once trickled now flows, a gentle but insistent current that lifts you from the rocky shore. You are weightless now, floating. The cool darkness of the intertidal zone gives way to a surprising warmth, and the water around you is no longer dark, but a brilliant, impossible blue. You are drifting away from the land into the shallow, sunlit sea. Sunlight penetrates the water here, not as a harsh glare, but as 1,000 shimmering, dancing beams of liquid gold. They ripple across the white sand below, creating shifting patterns of light and shadow. The water is clear, clearer than air, and you can see for a great distance. Ahead of you, rising from the seabed like the ruins of a lost and magical city, is a coral reef. You drift closer, a silent observer in this bustling, vibrant world. This is not a city made of stone, but of life itself. A coral reef is one of the planet's great collaborations. The entire magnificent structure, stretching for miles in every direction, is built by tiny soft-bodied animals called polyps. Each polyp is no bigger than a grain of rice, a simple creature, little more than a stomach and a mouth surrounded by a ring of tiny tentacles. They are cousins to the sea anemones you saw in the tide pool. Each polyp builds a small limestone cup to live in, its own little fortress. And when it reproduces, it creates a perfect clone of itself, which builds its own cup right next to it. Generation after generation for thousands of years, these billions of tiny architects build upon the skeletons of their ancestors, creating the massive, complex structures you see before you. Towering spires, intricate caves, and delicate, branching forests, all built by one of the smallest and simplest animals in the sea. The rhythm of life here is one of slow, patient, and collective construction. But the polyps have a secret partner. Living within the tissue of each tiny animal are microscopic algae called zooxanthellae. Through the process of photosynthesis, these algae use the abundant sunlight to create food, which they share with their coral host. In return, the coral provides the algae with a safe place to live and the compounds they need for photosynthesis. This partnership is the engine of the entire reef ecosystem. It is also the source of the reef's spectacular color. The brilliant greens, warm yellows, and soft purples are not from the coral animal itself, but from the billions of tiny algae living inside it. The entire reef is a living solar panel, a city powered by the sun. You float closer, noticing the incredible variety of shapes. You see huge, round brain corals, their surfaces carved with winding, maze-like patterns, looking like the fossilized minds of ancient giants. Delicate sea fans, colored a deep, royal purple, wave gently back and forth in the current, filtering tiny particles of food from the water. Vast fields of staghorn coral reach upwards toward the light, their branching arms providing a safe haven for thousands of tiny fish. It is a garden of stone, but it is alive and breathing. And it is full of citizens. A school of brilliant blue damselfish, hundreds of them, moves as a single shimmering entity, turning in perfect unison as if guided by one mind. You see a flash of orange and white. A clownfish, nestled safely within the stinging tentacles of a large anemone. The fish is immune to the anemone's sting, and in exchange for the protection of its venomous home, it helps to clean the anemone and lure in food. Another perfect partnership. A majestic sea turtle, ancient and unhurried, soars past you on paddle-like flippers, its movements slow, deliberate, and impossibly graceful. Below it, a parrotfish with its fused, beak-like teeth, scrapes algae from the surface of a coral head. You can hear the sound it makes, a distinct and rhythmic crunch, crunch, crunch. The sound of a reef being gardened, of rock being turned, eventually into the finest sand. You close your eyes for a moment and just listen. You might expect silence beneath the waves, but a healthy coral reef is a surprisingly noisy place. Beneath the gentle hum of the water, there is another sound. A constant, gentle crackling, like the sound of static on a radio, or bacon frying softly in a pan. This is the sound of the reef's smallest inhabitants. It is the collective noise of millions of tiny snapping shrimp, hidden in the reef's crevices. Each one has a specialized claw that it can cock and snap shut at incredible speed, creating a tiny cavitation bubble that collapses with a loud pop. It is the sound of a million tiny simultaneous snaps that creates the constant, soothing crackle. It is the sound of a reef that is busy, healthy, and full of life. This city of coral holds its mysteries too. One of the most beautiful and baffling is the annual coral spawning. For just 1 or 2 nights a year, under very specific conditions, the corals on the reef will reproduce. On a massive, synchronized scale. Triggered by the water temperature and the lunar cycle, entire sections of the reef, sometimes stretching for hundreds of miles, will simultaneously release their eggs and sperm into the water. It creates what looks like an upside-down snowstorm, as billions of tiny pink and white spheres drift slowly upwards towards the surface. How do they all know to do it at the same time? How is the signal given across such a vast area? Scientists are still working to understand the precise chemical and environmental cues. It remains one of nature's most spectacular and mysterious rituals, a silent, coordinated act of renewal on a planetary scale. You let the gentle current rock you back and forth. You are held in the warm, sunlit water, surrounded by the soft, crackling sound of the reef's life. The crunch of the parrotfish, the shimmering dance of the damselfish, the slow, patient construction of the coral itself. It is a world of partnerships, of ancient rhythms, of quiet, constant activity. There is nothing for you to do here but float. To feel the warmth of the water on your skin and listen to the gentle sounds of this underwater city. Let the crackling static be a lullaby. Let the gentle current carry you deeper and deeper into rest. The gentle current has carried you away from the vibrant, crackling city of the coral reef. The water around you is changing. The brilliant, sunlit turquoise is deepening, slowly shifting to a rich, profound sapphire, and then to a dark, velvety indigo. You are drifting into the open ocean, the great and silent expanse of the deep blue. The seabed has fallen away, and below you is a seemingly bottomless space. Above you, the surface is a distant, shimmering ceiling. There is nothing in sight. No land, no reef, no floor. Just the immense, quiet, and calming emptiness of the water. You feel a sense of profound peace in this vastness. You are suspended in the heart of the ocean, a tiny, weightless speck in an endless world of blue. The frantic energy of the world above feels a million miles away. Here things move slowly. Life is unhurried. The rhythm of the ocean is one of deep, slow, powerful cycles. And then you feel it. It is not a sound you hear with your ears, not at first. It is a vibration. A low, resonant hum that seems to pass right through you, vibrating deep within your chest. It is a feeling of immense, ancient power, of something colossal moving in the deep. It is a feeling of presence. The vibration grows stronger, and now it becomes a sound, a long, low, and deeply mournful moan that seems to fill the entire ocean. It is a sound that speaks of distance, of time, and of solitude. Out of the deep, dark blue below, a shape begins to resolve. It is impossibly large, yet it moves with a grace that defies its scale. A humpback whale. It rises slowly, effortlessly, a living mountain gliding through the water. It is longer than a bus, heavier than a dozen elephants, yet it moves with the silent grace of an owl on the wing. Its skin is a landscape of dark gray, patterned with the white scratches and scars of a long life lived, and dotted with clusters of barnacles, little hitchhikers on this epic lifelong journey. Its eye, as it passes, is the size of a teacup, and it seems to watch you with a calm, ancient, and unfathomable intelligence. Its long, wing-like pectoral fins, nearly a third of its body length, gently slice through the water, guiding its immense bulk with the smallest of movements. This is the singer. This is the source of the song that envelopes you. The sound the whale produces is one of the loudest and most complex in the animal kingdom, and it is perfectly suited for this environment. Sound travels almost 5 times faster in water than it does in air, and low-frequency sounds, like the deep notes of the whale's song, can travel for immense distances. In the vast, dark world of the ocean, where sight is limited, sound is everything. A whale's song is a beacon, a message, a story sent out across hundreds, even thousands of miles of open water. A whale singing in the Caribbean could theoretically be heard by another whale off the coast of New England. They are connected by a web of sound, a slow-moving conversation that spans an entire ocean basin. You listen and you begin to perceive the structure. This is not just a random collection of noises. The song is a composition. It is built from distinct units or notes: the moans, the groans, the chirps, the cries. These notes are arranged into phrases. The phrases are repeated to form themes. And the themes are woven together to create a song that can last for 30 minutes or more, a complete and complex musical piece. When the song is finished, the whale will surface, breathe, and then descend to begin the exact same song again, note for note, with astonishing precision. He may sing this song for hours, even days on end. A constant, rhythmic, and deeply meditative performance. And here is a curious thing, something that connects these great creatures to us in a surprising way. Whale songs are a form of culture. Scientists listening to the songs of humpbacks across the Pacific Ocean have found that the songs change over time. Like hit songs on the radio, new patterns and themes emerge, become popular, and spread. A new, catchy phrase that begins in a population of whales off the east coast of Australia can be heard a year later in French Polynesia, and a few years after that, it will have completely replaced the old songs of the whale populations off the coast of South America. The songs are learned, adapted, and passed on. It is a cultural ripple, a musical fad, spreading slowly from one giant to the next across the largest ocean on Earth. But the greatest mystery of all remains. Why are they singing? What does this beautiful, complex, and ever-changing song actually mean? The simple answer is that the males sing to attract females, a complex courtship display. And that is likely true. But it doesn't seem to be the whole story. The songs are far more complex than they would need to be for simple communication or attraction. Some scientists believe the intricate patterns could serve as a form of sonar, helping the whales to navigate their way through the vast and featureless ocean on their epic migrations. Or perhaps it is something more. Is it a story? A history of their lineage passed down through sound? An acoustic map of the ocean floor? Or is it simply art? An expression of something: joy, loneliness, existence that we can feel but never truly comprehend. It is a humbling thought that in the deep, dark quiet of the ocean, there are artists composing and performing symphonies we are only just beginning to appreciate. We may never know what they mean. And perhaps we don't need to. You simply float and you listen. The song is not just in the water around you, it is inside you. The deep, low frequencies are a form of gentle massage, a calming vibration that soothes your bones, your muscles, your mind. You are suspended in an ancient, living piece of music. Let the rhythm of the whale's song become your own rhythm. Let its deep, resonant vibrations lull you into an even deeper state of peace. You are safe. You are held in the heart of the ocean. And you are listening to a song older than any human kingdom, a song of the deep blue. The deep, resonant song of the whale fades behind you, a vibration that slowly dissolves back into the vast silence of the open ocean. You continue to drift, carried by a slow, unseen river within the sea. The profound, inky blue begins to lighten. You are ascending, rising gently back toward the sunlit layers of this liquid world. Sunbeams, once faint and distant, now pierce the depths in sharp, brilliant columns, like the pillars of a submerged cathedral. The water here is warm again, and it is no longer empty. You are floating through a world thick with life, so small it is almost invisible. This is the world of plankton. A soupy, shimmering haze of microscopic plants and animals, drifters just like you, that form the foundation of all life in the sea. They are the dust motes of the ocean, dancing in the sunbeams, a living, breathing atmosphere that nourishes the smallest fish and the greatest whales. The rhythm of the ocean here is a gentle, sun-drenched swirl of creation. And into this shimmering soup, a silent fleet appears. Jellyfish. They drift into view not one by one, but as a loose, ethereal armada. Their translucent bells, shaped like moons or mushrooms, pulse with a slow, steady, and hypnotic rhythm. Thump thump, thump thump. It is a heartbeat made visible, a slow and gentle propulsion that moves them through the water with an air of complete and total calm. Their long, trailing tentacles, delicate as spun glass, drift behind them, a beautiful and dangerous net for the tiny creatures of the plankton. You focus on one as it passes. You can see right through it. It seems to be made of little more than captured water and faint light. And in many ways it is. A jellyfish is more than 95% water. It has no bones, no blood, no heart, and no brain. It is one of the simplest yet most successful designs for life on this planet. Its existence is a form of pure meditation. It doesn't think, it simply is. It doesn't worry, it simply reacts. Its nerves form a loose net, allowing it to sense light and touch, but it has no central command. Its life is a masterclass in letting go, in moving with the gentle current. Effortless movement. Its life cycle is a quiet wonder. A jellyfish begins as a tiny, plant-like polyp, stuck to the seafloor. When the conditions are right, this polyp will bud, releasing tiny, free-swimming jellies that grow into the beautiful, pulsing bells you see before you know. A life of two halves, one rooted and one free. And for one tiny species, the cycle is even more miraculous. It is a creature known as the immortal jellyfish. This thimble-sized jelly, when faced with injury, starvation, or simply old age, can do something that sounds like science fiction. It can reverse its own aging process. It can sink to the ocean floor, retract its tentacles, and revert its cells back to their earliest, youngest state, transforming back into a polyp. From this new polyp, a new jellyfish will eventually bud and grow. It has the potential to live forever, endlessly cycling between adulthood and infancy. It doesn't die, it simply begins again. It is a quiet reminder that in the ocean, the rules of life and death can be beautifully, wonderfully strange. As you float among this silent, pulsing bloom, a shadow falls over you. It is vast and sudden, as if a cloud has covered the sun. But when you look up, the surface is still shimmering. The shadow is coming from below. It is the form of a living creature rising from the blue. It is impossibly large, yet completely silent. The water parts around it without a sound. It is a whale shark, the largest fish in the entire ocean. But its name is a gentle deception. It is not a whale, and it has none of the ferocity of a shark. It is a slow-moving, peaceful filter feeder, a true gentle giant. It glides past you, its skin a breathtaking canvas of deep gray, covered in a unique pattern of pale yellow spots and stripes. It looks as though someone has scattered a handful of stars across its back. Each pattern is unique, a celestial fingerprint that identifies the individual throughout its long life. Its mouth, which could be 5 feet wide, is open as it swims, a great dark cavern that is gently, constantly sipping the ocean. It is taking in the plankton-rich water, filtering out the tiny plants and animals through gill rakers, the same way the great baleen whales do. This colossal creature, which can grow to be over 40 feet long, is sustained entirely by the smallest life forms in the sea. A mountain that survives on dust. You feel no fear, only a profound sense of awe and peace. The whale shark moves with a slow side-to-side sweep of its powerful tail, a movement so unhurried and efficient it seems to require no effort at all. Its small dark eye observes the world with a placid calm. You have the distinct feeling that you are not just an observer but a fellow traveler. You are both drifting in the same current, bathed in the same sunlit water, moving at the same unhurried pace. Like so many of the ocean's gentle giants, the whale shark is a creature of mystery. They are typically solitary wanderers, crisscrossing the tropical oceans of the world alone. And yet, there are specific places off the coast of Mexico, in the Philippines, near Australia, where hundreds of them will gather at the same time every year. Why they do this is still not fully understood. It seems to be tied to mass spawning events of fish or coral, which create a temporary all-you-can-eat buffet of eggs. But how do they all know to arrive at the same time? Is it a schedule kept by some internal ancestral clock? Is there a form of communication we cannot detect? It is a great, silent gathering of the giants, a peaceful convention whose true purpose remains their own quiet secret. For now you are content to simply drift. You are in the company of the ocean's masters of effortless movement. The silent, pulsing jellyfish all around you, and the slow, majestic whale shark beside you. You are all part of the same gentle dance, carried on the same current. Let go of any tension in your body. Allow yourself to feel as weightless and as calm as they are. There is no need to swim, no need to struggle. Just drift. Let the slow rhythm of the ocean carry you down, down, down into a deep and peaceful sleep. Your journey continues downward. You leave the warm, plankton-rich surface waters behind, sinking slowly, peacefully into the cooler layers below. The brilliant columns of sunlight that once surrounded you begin to fade, their power diminishing with every foot you descend. The vibrant colors of the upper world, the blues, the greens, the yellows are the first to be extinguished. The ocean's palette simplifies, resolving into a world of deep, monochromatic blue. And then even that begins to fade. You are entering the mesopelagic zone, a name that means middle sea. But it is more commonly and more poetically known as the twilight zone. Down here, starting at around 650 feet below the surface, the sun is a distant, forgotten memory. There is still a faint, ghostly glow filtering down from the world above, but it is not enough to truly see by. It is a world of perpetual dusk, of deep shadows and faint silhouettes. The pressure here is immense, a heavy, constant, and strangely comforting embrace from the ocean itself. The water is cold and still. The playful currents of the surface are gone. Here everything is quiet, slow, and deliberate. You feel a sense of profound isolation but not of loneliness. You are simply leaving one world behind and entering another, a world that operates by a completely different set of rules. The rhythm of life here is not dictated by the sun, but by the darkness itself. As your eyes adjust to the deepening gloom, you begin to think there is nothing here but empty, dark water. And then you see it. A single, tiny spark of brilliant blue-green light, flashing for a moment before disappearing. It is as startling and as beautiful as the first star appearing in the night sky. Then another appears, a soft, ethereal glow that drifts past. And another. Soon the darkness is no longer empty. It is filled with a silent, secret language of light. You have entered the realm of bioluminescence. This is the light of living things. It is not the hot, wasteful light of a flame or a light bulb. It is cold light, created by a simple and incredibly efficient chemical reaction that is found in countless deep-sea organisms. A molecule called luciferin reacts with oxygen, catalyzed by an enzyme called luciferase, and the result is a release of energy in the form of a photon. A single, pure particle of light, born from the chemistry of life itself in the absolute dark. This living light is the language of the twilight zone. It is used to find food, to attract mates, to communicate, and to defend against predators. It is the sun, the moon, and the stars for the creatures of the deep. You see a creature that looks like a transparent ribbon drifting past. It is a comb jelly. Along its body are 8 rows of tiny shimmering hairs called cilia, which it beats to propel itself through the water. As it moves, these cilia refract the faint ambient light, creating pulsating, hypnotic rainbows that travel down its body. But it also has its own light. When disturbed, it can produce a brilliant flash of blue-green bioluminescence, a silent shout in the dark. And then you see a light that does not move. It hangs suspended in the water, a single, soft, inviting glow. You realize you are looking at the famous lure of an anglerfish. The fish itself is a creature of darkness, perfectly camouflaged in the gloom. Only its light is visible, a fleshy, glowing bait that dangles from a spine on its head, waving gently back and forth right in front of its cavernous mouth. It is a portrait of immense patience. It hangs in the dark, its lamp lit, waiting for a smaller, curious creature to investigate the lonely light. A quiet, hypnotic, and deadly trap. A new shape resolves out of the darkness. It is about the size of a football, with a body like a velvety, dark red cloak, stretched between 8 webbed arms. This is the vampire squid. Despite its menacing name, it is a gentle, passive creature that feeds on marine snow, the gentle flurry of organic matter from above. And its defense mechanism is one of the most beautiful in the ocean. When threatened, it doesn't release a cloud of dark ink, which would be useless in this permanent night. Instead, it ejects a sticky cloud of bioluminescent mucus from the tips of its arms. The cloud hangs in the water, a sparkling, glittering net of light that dazzles and confuses a potential predator, while the squid itself, its own lights extinguished, vanishes into the safety of the surrounding blackness. A firework display of defense. Even the darkness itself is not what it seems. Many creatures here use light not to stand out, but to disappear. This is the magic of counter-illumination. A predator hunting from below, looking up at the faint, hazy glow of the surface far above, would easily see the dark silhouette of a squid or a fish against that lighter background. So, many animals in the twilight zone have developed light-producing organs, photophores, on their bellies. They can control the brightness of these lights to perfectly match the intensity of the light from above, effectively erasing their own silhouette. It is an active, living cloak of invisibility. As the last vestiges of sunlight are finally extinguished from the world above, you sense a change. A subtle shift in the water. A feeling of movement on a colossal scale. All around you in the deep, quiet dark, a great journey is beginning. This is the Deal vertical migration, the largest migration of life on our planet, and it happens every single night. Trillions of creatures, tiny crustaceans, squid, fish, and jellies that spend their days hiding in the safety of the dark twilight zone are now beginning their long, upward swim to the surface. They rise under the cover of darkness to feed on the rich plankton of the sunlit zone, before descending back into the depths before the first light of dawn. The reasons for this incredible daily pilgrimage seem clear to eat without being eaten, but the precise mechanics of it remain a profound mystery. How do they navigate hundreds or thousands of feet up and down in the pitch black? How do they coordinate this movement on such a massive ocean-wide scale? It is the planet's silent, daily heartbeat, a massive, vertical river of life, flowing up and down with the setting and rising of a sun these creatures can barely even sense. You are now suspended in the true, deep, quiet dark. The only light is the light of life. The slow, rhythmic flashes, the gentle, constant glows, the sudden, brilliant sparks. It is a silent, endless and deeply peaceful fireworks display. Let the gentle, living lights be your stars tonight. There is no day or night here, only the soft, hypnotic rhythm of the deep. Let it soothe you. Let it quiet your mind and carry you off to sleep. You continue to descend. The last of the living lights from the twilight zone have faded away, becoming distant, forgotten stars. You are sinking now through the bathyal zone, the zone of midnight, and then deeper still into the abyss. The darkness here is absolute. It is a complete and total absence of light, a blackness so profound that the concept of sight becomes meaningless. The pressure is crushing, hundreds of times greater than at the surface, a force that would instantly destroy any creature not built for it. And the water is just a few degrees above freezing, a constant, penetrating cold. The feeling of sinking, which has been your constant companion, begins to slow. The water feels thicker, heavier. And then, with an impossible gentleness, you come to rest. You have arrived at the bottom of the world. You have settled upon the abyssal plain, the deep ocean floor. There is no impact, no hard landing. The ground beneath you is not solid rock, but a fine, unimaginably soft ooze. It is a blanket of sediment, thousands of feet thick in places, that has been accumulating here particle by particle for millions upon millions of years. You are resting on a bed of ancient history, a cushion of time itself. The silence is the next thing you notice. It is a silence deeper than any you have ever known. There is no wind, no sound of waves, no crackle of a reef. The deep, resonant songs of the whales cannot penetrate this far. Even the water itself seems to make no sound. It is a world of profound, unshakable stillness. Here, on the floor of the abyss, time itself seems to slow down to a near standstill. The rhythm of life is a long, slow, patient hum. And in this deep, quiet dark, a new kind of movement becomes apparent. It is not a swimming or a crawling. It is a slow, constant, and utterly silent downward drift. All around you, tiny, pale specks are falling, descending through the black water like a gentle, never-ending snowfall. This is marine snow. It is not snow as you know it. It is not frozen water. It is the final, gentle rain of life from the sunlit world, thousands of feet above. It is a constant shower of organic detritus. The tiny, intricate shells of dead plankton, the scales of fish, fecal pellets from creatures great and small, specks of dust, and clumps of mucus. It is the leftover, forgotten, and discarded fragments of the entire ecosystem above, all drifting down to their final resting place. You can imagine the journey of a single flake. It begins in the bright, warm, chaotic world of the surface. A microscopic organism lives its short life and then dies, and its tiny shell begins to sink. On its journey, it might become entangled with other particles, bound together by sticky mucus secreted by bacteria, forming a larger, heavier aggregate. This aggregate falls faster, but the journey is still impossibly long. It drifts through the flashing lights of the twilight zone, past the patient anglerfish and the ghostly vampire squid. It sinks for days, then weeks, then perhaps even months, a slow, lonely pilgrimage through a vertical ocean of blackness. For the creatures of the sunlit world, this material is waste. But for the inhabitants of the abyss, this gentle, constant snowfall is everything. It is their food, their energy, their sun, their entire connection to the world above. Life here is a long and patient wait for this sparse, unpredictable manna from heaven. Every living thing on this vast, dark plain is adapted to survive on this faint trickle of nourishment from a world it will never see. You become aware of the inhabitants of this soft, dark landscape. A creature that looks like a lumpy, fleshy sausage, a deep purple in color, moves with incredible slowness across the ooze. This is a sea cucumber, one of the dominant life forms on the abyssal plane. It is the earthworm of the deep sea, tirelessly and unthinkingly ingesting the sediment, digesting the nutritious marine snow that has settled within it, and leaving a trail of clean, processed mud behind. It is a slow, simple, and utterly vital existence, constantly tilling the soil of the deep. A short distance away, a truly strange fish stands motionless. This is a tripod fish. It rests on the seabed on three incredibly long, stilt-like extensions of its fins, two from its pelvic fins and one from its tail. It holds its body perfectly still, high up off the seafloor, facing into the barely perceptible current. It is a master of energy conservation. It does not waste effort swimming or hunting. It simply stands and waits for a tiny shrimp or other morsel of food, carried on the slow, deep currents, to drift close enough to be snatched from the water. It is a life of absolute stillness, a living statue waiting for a meal to be delivered. Life here operates on a completely different metabolic scale. In the cold, energy-poor environment of the abyss, things happen in slow motion. Creatures grow at a glacial pace, reaching maturity only after decades or even centuries. And they live for an exceptionally long time. Some deep-sea corals and sponges have been found to be thousands of years old, making them the longest-lived animals on Earth. How they manage this incredible longevity, how their bodies can function and sustain themselves for millennia on such a low-energy diet of marine snow, is a profound biological puzzle. The exact mechanics of this ultra-slow metabolism are still not fully understood by science. It is a different kind of life, a slow dance of survival played out over centuries in the dark. You feel a sense of ultimate peace here at the bottom of the world. There is nothing to do, nothing to see. There is only the stillness, the silence, and the gentle, hypnotic, endless fall of marine snow. Each flake is a story, a whisper from the world of light and warmth, now coming to rest. Let the slow, silent dance of this gentle snow fill your mind. It is a visual mantra of release, of letting go, of coming to a final, peaceful rest. There is no deeper, quieter, or more peaceful place on the planet. Let it hold you. Let it guide you into the deepest sleep. You drift slowly, a disembodied observer, across the vast, silent plains of the abyss. The world here is uniform, a soft, dark, and unchanging landscape of fine ooze, dusted by the constant, gentle fall of marine snow. It seems as though this landscape could stretch on forever, a world of profound and meditative emptiness. But then a shape looms in the darkness ahead. It is something different, something large and structured and utterly alien to this soft, uniform world. As you draw closer, its form becomes clear, resolved by some faint, internal bioluminescence of the creatures that now call it home. It is a skeleton. The colossal, arching rib cage of a great whale, resting on the seafloor like the wreck of a magnificent, sunken cathedral. In the sunlit world above, the death of a whale is an ending. But here, in the deep, quiet dark, it is the most profound of beginnings. This is a whale fall. It is a sudden, massive delivery of nourishment to a world defined by scarcity. A single whale carcass can contain more nutrients than 1,000 years of marine snow falling on the same patch of seafloor. It is a gift from another world, an oasis of unimaginable abundance that will create and sustain a unique and complex ecosystem for decades, perhaps even a century. A world within a world. The story of this place began with a sudden, violent arrival. The great body, after sinking for days from the surface, finally came to rest, and the news spread quickly. Not by sound but by scent. The first to arrive were the mobile scavengers. Sleeper sharks, huge and slow-moving with mouths that can scoop out enormous chunks of flesh. Writhing, slime-producing hagfish, pouring into the carcass to feed from the inside out. Giant, pale isopods like woodlice the size of dinner plates. This was the first stage, a frantic and messy feast that may have lasted for a year or two, until every last scrap of soft tissue had been stripped away. But that was only the beginning. The scene you are witnessing now is quieter, more settled, yet teeming with a different kind of life. The great feast is over, but the legacy remains. The surrounding sediment is now richly fertilized by the remnants of the feast, and the bones themselves are still full of life-giving oils and fats. This is the second stage, the time of the enrichment opportunists. Thousands of smaller creatures now colonize the area. Bristle worms, tiny crustaceans, and strange deep-sea snails crawl over the bones and through the enriched mud, feeding on the leftovers. The pace of life has slowed from a frantic banquet to a long, leisurely meal. Your attention is drawn to the bones themselves. They are not bare. They are covered in what looks like a strange, feathery red carpet. A fuzzy, plant-like growth that sways gently in the imperceptible current. But these are not plants. This is the third and most wonderfully strange stage of the whale fall. You are looking at a garden of Ostax worms, a name that means quite literally, bone eater. They are sometimes known more poetically as zombie worms. These creatures are among the most bizarre life forms ever discovered. The feathery, red plumes you see are the worm's gills, allowing them to breathe. The part of the worm you don't see is its root system, which has bored deep into the hard bone. The zombie worm has no mouth, no stomach, and no anus. It cannot be eaten in any conventional sense. Instead, it secretes a powerful acid from its skin, dissolving the bone matrix. Its roots are filled with symbiotic bacteria, which then digest the rich, energy-dense lipids, the fats and oils trapped within the bone. The worm absorbs the nutrients produced by its live-in bacterial partners. It is a creature that eats a skeleton from the inside out. And the story gets stranger still. Every one of the red, feathery worms you see is a female. The males of the species are microscopic, and they live inside the females' bodies, sometimes hundreds of them to a single female, serving no purpose other than to fertilize her eggs. It is a life of profound specialization, an existence that has evolved for the sole purpose of consuming the skeletons of these fallen giants. The slow rhythm of decay here is also a rhythm of creation, as the very bones are transformed into a living, breathing, and reproducing garden. This process unlocks yet another layer of life. As the bacteria inside the worm's roots break down the bone fats, they release hydrogen sulfide as a byproduct. This sulfur compound, which smells of rotten eggs, becomes a food source for a whole different kind of bacteria. And these chemosynthetic bacteria, in turn, can support an entire community of clams, mussels, and other worms that live in the surrounding mud, their own bodies filled with symbiotic bacteria that feed on the sulfur. The whale fall becomes a self-contained chemical ecosystem, an engine of life running on the slow decomposition of bone, creating a vibrant community that is completely independent of the sparse marine snow. Life from death. But this island of life is temporary. In 50 or perhaps 100 years, the bones will be completely consumed, the worms will die, and this vibrant oasis will fade, leaving nothing but a faint chemical signature in the mud. And this raises the final great mystery of the whale fall. How does the next generation of zombie worms and all the other specialist creatures here find the next one? A new whale fall might occur hundreds of miles away, across a vast and empty abyssal desert. How do the tiny, free-floating larvae of these creatures manage that incredible journey? How do they find that 1 in a billion spot on the vast ocean floor where a new feast has just begun? Ocean currents must play a part, carrying the larvae on a lottery of chance. But the odds are so astronomically long that some scientists wonder if there are other, smaller stepping stones, the bones of large fish or sea turtles that we haven't yet discovered, forming a hidden network of nourishment across the deep. It is a puzzle of dispersal, a secret of deep-sea survival. You hover in the deep silence, watching the gentle, hypnotic sway of the red, feathery worms. The great skeleton is no longer a symbol of an end, but of a long, slow, and generous continuation. It is a monument to the profound interconnectedness of the ocean, where the largest of creatures gives its body to create a world for the smallest. It is a place of peace, of strange beauty, and of life's incredible, stubborn, and resourceful persistence. You leave the quiet, organic legacy of the whale behind, drifting once more into the vast, silent darkness of the abyssal plain. For a time, the world is the familiar, soft, and unchanging landscape of mud. But then you sense a change. The water, which has been perpetually bone-chillingly cold, now carries a faint and surprising trace of warmth. The seafloor is no longer soft. The ooze has given way to hard, jagged terrain, the unmistakable texture of volcanic rock. Ahead of you, the darkness is not uniform. It is hazy, as if filled with a distant smoke. And rising from the seafloor are strange, twisted structures. They look like spires and chimneys, some short and stout, others tall and spindly, like the spires of a Gothic cathedral built in the dark. You have drifted into a hydrothermal vent field. This is a place where the deep, internal heat of the earth itself bursts forth into the ocean. From the tops of some of the tallest chimneys, a thick, dark, billowing cloud erupts into the water. It looks exactly like black smoke, but it is not. It is a superheated fluid, over 700 degrees Fahrenheit, laden with dissolved minerals like sulfur, iron, and zinc. As this scorching hot fluid hits the near-freezing seawater, these minerals instantly precipitate, crystallizing to form the dark, smoke-like particles. These are the famous black smokers, powerful geysers of geothermal energy. The water around the vents shimmers and distorts, a visible sign of the intense heat mixing with the profound cold. This is a place of primal forces where geology and chemistry collide. Seawater has seeped deep into the cracks of the Earth's crust, where it was heated by magma and infused with chemicals from the molten rock. Now it is being forced back out, carrying a potent, toxic, and life-giving brew into the abyss. You would expect this place, with its crushing pressure, extreme temperatures, and a chemical cocktail poisonous to most life, to be utterly barren. But it is the opposite. It is an oasis, an explosion of life, denser and more vibrant than anything you have seen in the deep. This entire, thriving ecosystem is built on a principle that was once thought to be impossible. It runs not on sunlight, but on chemistry. Life from chemistry. The foundation of this world is bacteria. These are not ordinary bacteria. They are chemosynthetic. Instead of using the energy of sunlight to create food, as plants do in photosynthesis, these bacteria use the chemical energy stored in the hydrogen sulfide belching from the vents. In the total absence of light, these microbes are the primary producers. They are the plants of this deep-sea world, and every single animal here depends on them, directly or indirectly, for its survival. This is a world without sun. The most striking inhabitants of this chemical garden are the giant tube worms. They grow in dense, tangled thickets around the base of the vents, looking like a forest of alien flowers. Each worm lives inside a tall, white, leathery tube, sometimes over 6 feet long. From the top of the tube, a brilliant red, feathery plume extends into the water. This plume is the worm's gill, and its vibrant color comes from a special kind of hemoglobin that is incredibly efficient at absorbing both oxygen from the seawater and hydrogen sulfide from the vent fluid. Like the bone-eating worms of the whale, the giant tube worm has no mouth and no gut. It does not eat. Its entire body cavity is packed with a dense colony of symbiotic, chemosynthetic bacteria. The worm is little more than a sophisticated life support system for its internal partners. It uses its red plume to deliver the necessary chemicals, the oxygen and the hydrogen sulfide, to the bacteria, and in return, the bacteria produce all the sugar and nutrients the worm needs to live and grow at an astonishing rate. It is a perfect and beautiful partnership. Closer to the shimmering heat of the chimneys, you see other, stranger creatures. Crawling on the sides of the black smokers themselves is one of the most heat-tolerant animals on Earth, the Pompeii worm. It lives in a small tube right at the boundary of extreme temperatures. Its tail might be resting in water that is scalding hot, while its head pokes out into water that is comfortably cool. It survives this incredible temperature gradient thanks to a thick, gray, fleecy coat that covers its back. This coat is not hair. It is a dense colony of filamentous bacteria. Scientists believe this bacterial fleece acts as a form of insulation, protecting the worm from the intense heat, and may also help to detoxify the heavy metals from the vent fluid. The entire landscape is crowded. Dense beds of white clams and large mussels cluster near the base of the smokers, their own gills filled with symbiotic bacteria. Ghostly white crabs, blind and pale, crawl over every surface scavenging for food. Swarms of tiny pale shrimp dance in the warm, shimmering water. It is a bustling, thriving metropolis, powered entirely by the warmth of the earth. The discovery of these ecosystems in 1977 completely changed our understanding of life. Before then, it was an absolute biological rule that all life on Earth ultimately depended on the sun. The hydrothermal vents proved this rule wrong. Life could flourish in absolute darkness, in extreme conditions, drawing its energy not from the sky, but from the very rock of the planet. This profound discovery led to a new and compelling hypothesis for one of science's greatest mysteries: the origin of life itself. Perhaps life didn't begin in a shallow, sunlit pond on the surface, vulnerable to meteorite impacts and harsh ultraviolet radiation. Perhaps instead it began right here in a place just like this. In the warm, protected, chemical-rich environment of a deep-sea hydrothermal vent, where all the energy and all the chemical building blocks for life were readily available. It is a debate that continues to this day, but it is a powerful thought that you might be looking at the very kind of place where the first spark of life on our planet was ignited. You float in the gentle, warm currents, watching the slow, rhythmic billowing of the black smokers. It is like watching a slow-motion fire, a fire that gives warmth and life without light. It is a connection to the very core of our world. A reminder that even in the deepest, darkest, and most unlikely of places, life finds a way to create a vibrant, warm, and protected home. Let the warmth of the earth soothe you. Let the gentle, silent dance of the smoke lull you into a deep and peaceful rest. You ascend slowly, leaving the strange, warm, and vibrant oasis of the hydrothermal vent field behind. You rise back into the familiar, profound cold and darkness of the abyss. The world becomes still and silent again. But the stillness does not last. You begin to feel a pull. It is not a current as you would imagine it on the surface, not a rush or a swirl of water. It is a slow, deep, and inexorable movement of the entire body of the ocean around you. It is a force so vast and so gradual that it is barely perceptible, yet it is moving you with undeniable purpose. You have been caught in the great ocean conveyor belt, the slow, deep breath of the planet. The ocean, which seems so static and separate in its different basins, is in fact a single, continuous body of water, and it is all in constant, slow-motion circulation. There is a river in the deep, a river thousands of times larger than any on land, that flows in a great looping path around the entire globe. This is the thermohaline circulation, a process that acts as the planet's circulatory system, transporting heat, salt, and nutrients on a global scale. And you are now part of it. This immense current is driven by the two simplest of things: temperature and salt. Its journey begins on the surface, thousands of miles away, in the warm, sun-drenched waters of the tropics. There, the intense sun warms the surface of the ocean, and the warm air causes a great deal of evaporation. As fresh water evaporates, it leaves the salt behind, making the surface water both very warm and very salty. This warm, salty water is carried northward on surface currents, like the Gulf Stream, acting like a massive radiator, bringing warmth from the equator toward the poles and making northern climates much milder than they would otherwise be. You can picture this river of warm water reaching its destination far, far to the north, in the seas around Iceland and Greenland. Here it meets the frigid Arctic air. The water, which has carried its warmth across half the globe, now gives up its heat to the atmosphere. It becomes intensely cold. At the same time as sea ice forms, the salt is expelled from the freezing water, making the surrounding seawater even salter. This combination of extreme cold and high salinity makes the water incredibly dense and heavy, heavier than any of the water around it. And so, here in the North Atlantic, the journey changes direction. The water begins to sink. It is a slow, majestic, and continuous cascade, a cold waterfall pouring from the surface down into the abyss. This sinking, this great downwelling, is the powerful, invisible engine that drives the entire global current. And this is the river you find yourself in now. You are in the deep, cold, southbound flow of this ancient current. You are part of a body of water that has just left the surface, a place of light and air, and is now beginning a journey that will last for centuries. The water around you will not see the sun again for a very, very long time. This slow river flows south, deep beneath the surface of the Atlantic. It travels down the coast of North and South America, a silent, unseen counterpart to the continents above. As it nears Antarctica, it is joined by more cold, salty, and dense water, sinking from the surface of the southern polar sea, recharging the current. It then continues its journey, splitting to flow into the Indian and Pacific Oceans. All the while, it is moving at an incredibly slow pace, a creeping, deliberate flow across the floor of the world. A journey of 1,000 years. Imagine the things this parcel of water witnesses on its long, dark pilgrimage. It flows over the vast, muddy plains, receiving the gentle, constant rain of marine snow. It flows past the strange gardens of the whale falls, and past the fiery, chemical oases of the hydrothermal vents. It carries the chemical signatures of these deep, dark places with it. As it moves, the water is slowly enriched, collecting the dissolved nutrients from the life and death it passes on its journey. Eventually, after hundreds and hundreds of years in the deep, the water begins to warm slightly and rise. In various places throughout the vast Pacific and Indian Oceans, this deep, cold, and now nutrient-rich water will slowly upwell, returning to the surface. This upwelling brings the vital nutrients, which have been locked away in the deep, back into the sunlit zone, where they can fuel the growth of plankton and support the entire marine food web. And with that, the journey is complete. The water is now back at the surface, warmed by the sun, and it will begin its slow, looping journey back toward the Atlantic to begin the cycle all over again. This is the heartbeat of the planet, a single beat of which takes a millennium to complete. a slow, rhythmic, and vital process that regulates our climate and fuels life in the seas. But like any heartbeat, its rhythm is not guaranteed to be stable forever. This ancient, powerful circulation is driven by a delicate balance of temperature and salinity. Scientists today are carefully studying how our changing climate, particularly the rapid melting of glaciers and ice caps at the poles, might affect this balance. The influx of huge amounts of cold, fresh water into the North Atlantic could, in theory, disrupt the sinking of the salty water, potentially slowing or even stopping this great engine. The full consequences of such a change are a subject of intense research and debate, a profound question about the future of one of our planet's most fundamental rhythms. But for now, you are simply a part of the flow. You feel the immense, slow, and calming power of this 1,000-year journey. It is a rhythm that puts all of human history into a humbling perspective. You are held in a current that began its deep-sea journey before the great cathedrals of Europe were built, and will not see the sun again until centuries into the future. Let this vast, slow, and ancient rhythm be your own. There is no need to rush. There is no need to struggle. There is only the slow, deep, and peaceful flow, carrying you gently through the night. The deep, cold, and dark river that has carried you for so long begins to change. You feel the slow, inexorable pull of an upward trajectory. After centuries spent in the abyss, this ancient water is being drawn back toward the world of light. The crushing pressure begins to lessen, the profound cold softens to a gentle cool, and a faint, hazy glow from far above announces the return of the sun. You are rising. You are part of a great upwelling, bringing the deep, nutrient-rich water back to the surface. With a final gentle surge you arrive. You are back in the warm, sunlit world. The water is a brilliant, shimmering blue, and the sun feels like a warm blanket on your skin. You have completed a journey of 1,000 years, from surface to abyss and back again. You float in the gentle swell of the open ocean, 1,000 miles from any land. And it is here, in this vast, empty expanse of blue, that you meet an ancient mariner. A large sea turtle glides through the water below you, its movements the definition of unhurried grace. It is a loggerhead, its shell a beautiful, patterned mosaic of amber and brown, worn smooth by a long life at sea. Its face, with its beak-like mouth and old, wise eyes, seems to hold the patience of the ocean itself. It moves with slow, powerful, and deliberate strokes of its paddle-like front flippers, a flying motion, like a great bird soaring through a liquid sky. This creature is on a journey that began decades ago, and one that is guided by forces we can barely comprehend. To understand its purpose, you must go back to the beginning. Picture a moonlit beach somewhere in the tropics. 100 tiny leather-shelled eggs begin to stir, buried deep in the warm sand. One by one, the hatchlings break free, and then, in a single coordinated eruption, they boil up onto the surface of the beach. Each one is no bigger than the palm of your hand, and from the moment it breathes the night air, its life is a frantic race. An ancient, hardwired instinct guides it. It must get to the water. Ignoring all else, it scrambles over its siblings, down the sandy slope, toward the brightest horizon, which is the moonlight shimmering on the waves. It is a desperate, instinctual dash for survival. And as the first gentle wave washes over its tiny body, its real journey begins. For a long time, what happened next was a complete mystery to scientists. These tiny hatchlings would swim out to sea, and then for several years they would simply vanish. These were called the lost years. But we now know where they go. The tiny turtle swims and swims and swims out into the open ocean, until it finds one of the great ocean gyres, the large, slowly rotating systems of surface currents. And here it finds its nursery, vast, floating mats of sargassum seaweed, a golden, tangled raft of life that can stretch for miles. This floating world becomes the young turtle's home. It provides food, shelter, and camouflage from predators. The turtle spends its youth here, drifting for thousands of miles on the slow, circular currents, a passenger on a continent of golden weed, growing slowly in the warm sun. It is a gentle, protected, and wandering childhood. The turtle you are watching now is long past its lost years. It is a mature adult, and its life is one of constant, epic migration. It has spent decades traveling the ocean basins, following the currents to rich feeding grounds, from the coasts where jellyfish bloom to the seagrass beds of the tropics. Its life is a solitary and peaceful pilgrimage, a slow and steady rhythm of travel and foraging. But now, a different instinct is calling. An ancient impulse is pulling it on a new and very specific course. It is navigating across thousands of miles of seemingly featureless ocean, back to a single specific destination, the very beach where it was born. And this raises one of the greatest navigational puzzles in the natural world. How does it know the way? There are no landmarks in the open ocean. The sun and stars can provide a sense of direction, but not a precise location. The turtle is using a sense that we, as humans, can barely imagine. It is navigating using the Earth's magnetic field. Our planet is a giant magnet with field lines looping from the South Pole to the North Pole. This magnetic field is not uniform. It varies in both its strength and its angle of inclination, the angle at which the field lines intersect the Earth's surface. These two values change in a predictable way with latitude and longitude, creating an invisible grid, a magnetic map that spans the entire globe. The sea turtle, it is believed, can sense this map. It has an internal biological compass. It can detect not only the direction of the magnetic field, but also its intensity and inclination angle, giving it the equivalent of a latitude and longitude reading. It knows where it is on the great invisible map of the ocean. The precise location and nature of this magnetic sense, the tiny biological compass within the turtle's body, remains a profound mystery. Some scientists think it is tied to magnetic crystals in the brain, others that it involves a strange quantum process in the turtle's eyes. We don't know for sure. We only know that it works. So you float along with this ancient mariner, this solitary traveler guided by an unseen force. Its powerful flippers beat in a slow, steady, and hypnotic rhythm. A flap and a glide. A flap and a glide. It is the rhythm of purpose, of returning home. It does not hurry. It does not worry. It simply follows the map it was born with, a map written in the magnetic core of the Earth itself. Its journey is a beautiful, profound circle. From a sandy beach to the open ocean, and now, after a lifetime of wandering, a journey back to that same strip of sand to begin the cycle anew. It is a story of instinct, of memory, and of the deep, invisible connections that guide life across our planet. Let the turtle's slow, rhythmic swimming soothe you. Feel yourself part of its calm, purposeful journey. You are guided, you are safe, and you are on a slow and steady path toward a peaceful rest. Your journey with the ancient sea turtle comes to a gentle end as it continues its solitary pilgrimage into the vast blue. You, however, find yourself drifting toward a coastline. The deep, sapphire blue of the open ocean begins to lighten, shifting to a cooler, softer shade of jade green. The water is rich with life. Below you, the seafloor is no longer a distant, abstract concept, but a visible landscape of rock and reef. And rising from this rocky bottom is something remarkable. A dense, towering, and gently swaying forest. You drift into it. The feeling is one of instant transformation. The wide, open space of the ocean is replaced by a sense of peaceful enclosure, of shelter. You are entering a kelp forest. It is a world that is both familiar and utterly alien, a perfect echo of a sun-dappled forest on land, yet it exists entirely underwater. The bright glare of the sun is softened here, filtered through a high canopy, casting moving, dappled patterns of golden-green light onto the forest floor below. The water is still and quiet, protected from the wind and waves of the open sea. You are surrounded by the trees of this submerged world. But these are not trees. This is kelp, a type of colossal brown algae. You look at a single, towering stalk. It is anchored to a rock on the seafloor not by roots, but by a tangled root-like structure called a holdfast, which does exactly what its name implies. It holds fast, gripping the stone with incredible strength against the pull of the currents. From this anchor, a long, flexible stalk, called a stipe, rises toward the surface. It is like the trunk of a tree but fluid and graceful. And from this stipe, long leaf-like blades unfurl, catching the faint currents like ribbons in a breeze. Each stripe is buoyant, lifted toward the sun by small, gas-filled bladders that grow at the base of the blades, like tiny built-in balloons. The kelp doesn't need a rigid, woody trunk because the water itself supports its weight. It can be strong and flexible at the same time. The gentle sway of the entire forest, a slow and rhythmic dance in time with the ocean's swell, is the very rhythm of this place. And this forest is a place of incredible, explosive vitality. Giant kelp is one of the fastest growing organisms on our planet. Under ideal conditions, with plenty of sunlight and cool, nutrient-rich water, a single kelp stipe can grow up to 2 feet in a single day. You can almost feel that energy, that relentless, quiet upward surge of life, as the kelp reaches from the dark seafloor toward the bright, life-giving sun at the surface. You let yourself drift slowly upwards, alongside one of the long, swaying stipes. You rise toward the canopy where the kelp blades have spread out across the surface, creating a dense, tangled, floating ceiling. This canopy is the forest's bustling treetop village. It absorbs the sunlight, fueling the growth of the entire ecosystem. It is also a nursery, a restaurant, and a refuge. Hiding among the thick leaves are countless tiny snails, shrimp, and other invertebrates. Small fish dart through the tangled fronds, safe from larger predators. Now you drift back down through the mid-water of the forest. This is a world of vertical highways, the long, swaying stripes creating a three-dimensional maze. Schools of silvery fish hang suspended in the dappled light, moving as one. You see a flash of brilliant color. A Garibaldi, the state marine fish of California, a creature of such a bright, solid orange that it seems to be lit from within. It guards its small territory with a surprising fierceness, a tiny, vibrant knight in this underwater kingdom. You continue your descent until you are at the bottom of the forest, in the cool shadows of the canopy. Here, among the tangled holdfasts, is another world entirely. It is a place of shelter and ambush. A lobster waves its long antennae from beneath a rocky ledge. A well-camouflaged octopus watches the world from its den, capable of changing its color and texture in the blink of an eye to match its surroundings. On a rock nearby, you see a spiny, spherical creature, moving with a slow, deliberate grace on hundreds of tiny hidden tube feet. This is a sea urchin. It is a grazer and kelp is its favorite food. It uses a complex, five-toothed mouthpart called Aristotle's lantern to scrape away at a fallen kelp blade. It is a slow, methodical, and peaceful gardener of the forest floor. And it is this small, spiny creature that reveals the forest's delicate and mysterious balance. In a healthy kelp forest, the urchin population is kept in check by a keystone predator. A sleek, furred, and impossibly charming creature darts into view, a sea otter. It dives to the bottom, snatches an urchin, and brings it to the surface. Floating effortlessly on its back, it places a small rock on its chest and, with a series of sharp, skillful blows, cracks the urchin's hard shell to get at the soft insides. The sea otter is the guardian of the forest. By eating the urchins, it prevents them from overpopulating and consuming all the kelp. But sometimes this balance is lost. For reasons that are still the subject of intense scientific debate, perhaps the disappearance of the otters, a change in water temperature, or a strange urchin disease, the urchin population can explode. When this happens, they can swarm across the seafloor, consuming not just the fallen blades, but the holdfasts of the living kelp themselves. They can mow down an entire vibrant forest, leaving behind nothing but a barren, empty rockscape, an urchin barren. The mystery of why and how these vibrant forests can suddenly collapse into barren landscapes is a stark reminder of the fragile, invisible threads that connect every living thing in an ecosystem. But this forest is healthy. This forest is in balance. You are suspended in its heart, and the entire world is moving with you. The gentle sway back and forth of the towering kelp is a hypnotic, calming rhythm. It is the gentle rocking of a cradle, powered by the deep, slow breathing of the ocean's swell. Let go. Allow yourself to be part of this gentle, rhythmic dance. There is nothing to do but sway and drift, and sink into a deep and peaceful and restorative sleep. The gentle, swaying dance of the kelp forest fades into a memory. You are on a great current once more, a current that is carrying you on a long and final journey northward. The water, once cool and green, is becoming colder now, a deep, piercing, and crystalline cold. The vibrant, chaotic life of the temperate seas begins to thin out. The world simplifies. The color palette shrinks to the most essential shades, the deep, dark blue of the water and the brilliant, stark white of ice. You have arrived in the polar seas. You are floating in a world of profound stillness and silence. The air above is so cold that it seems to have frozen the very sky. The sun, even at midday, hangs low on the horizon, casting long, pale blue shadows. The surface of the sea is a mosaic of floating ice floes, their edges bumping together with a soft, glassy clinking sound. It is the only sound you can hear. This is the great stillness of the top of the world. Ahead of you looms a mountain, but it is a mountain made of ice. An iceberg, calved from an ancient glacier, now drifting slowly on its long final journey of melting back into the sea. You see only the tip, a fortress of white, sculpted by the wind into fantastic shapes. But you sense the truth of it, the immense, unseen majority that lies beneath the waves. 90% of the iceberg is submerged, a vast, deep, and silent keel of pure, frozen freshwater. This ice is ancient. It began as snow, falling on a great ice sheet thousands of years ago. Each snowflake fell and was then buried by the next and the next and the next. Over centuries, the immense weight of the accumulated snow compressed the layers below, squeezing out every pocket of air, transforming the fluffy snow into dense, crystalline glacial ice. The beautiful, deep blue streaks you can see in the heart of the iceberg are scars of its history, places where summer meltwater filled a crevasse and then refroze into a tube of perfectly clear, bubble-free ice. The iceberg is a floating museum, carrying within it the frozen memory of a time long past. You might think this freezing world would be barren, but life is tenacious. The underside of the sea ice is a surprisingly rich pasture. In the spring, when the sun returns, vast blooms of algae grow directly on the submerged surface of the ice, creating a hanging, golden-brown garden. This algae is the foundation of the entire polar food web, feeding tiny crustaceans like krill, which in turn feed the fish, the seals, and the whales. Life here does not just survive, it thrives, clinging to the underside of the frozen ceiling of its world. But the cold here can also create things of a strange, stark, and deadly beauty. As the super-chilled air freezes the surface of the ocean, it creates sea ice. This process is messy, and it leaves behind channels of extremely salty, unfrozen water, a kind of brine. This brine is much denser than the seawater below it, and it is colder than the normal freezing point of salt water. Sometimes, this super cold, super salty brine will find a crack in the sea ice and begin to leak downwards into the sea. As this incredibly cold plume of brine sinks, it causes the fresher, less salty seawater it touches to instantly freeze around it. It creates a hollow, growing tube of ice, an icicle that grows not from the top down, but from the inside out. A brinacle. You watch as one of these ice fingers of death begins to form, a ghostly hollow tube reaching down from the ice ceiling, growing steadily toward the seafloor. It is a slow, silent, and mesmerizing process. When it finally touches the bottom, it continues to spread, a web of ice crawling across the seabed, fueled by the continuous flow of brine from above. Any slow-moving creature on the seafloor that is caught in its path, a starfish, a sea urchin, is instantly encased in a tomb of ice. Their life simply, quietly slips away. It is not a violent or malicious process. It is just the simple, indifferent physics of the cold. A strange, beautiful, and deadly flower, blooming for a few hours in the stillness of the polar deep. In the profound silence beneath the ice, you become aware of a new sound. It is a series of sharp, deliberate clicks, followed by a soft, high-pitched whistle. You are hearing the voice of one of the most mysterious and elusive creatures of the poles, the narwhal. A pod of them glides through the deep, dark water. They are pale, mottled gray, and from the head of each male erupts a single long, spiraled tusk, a tooth that has grown right through its upper lip. A unicorn of the sea. The narwhal lives a life almost entirely hidden from us, under the vast, solid canopy of the Arctic ice. To navigate and hunt in this world of absolute darkness, it uses sound. The sharp clicks are for echolocation, a form of biological sonar. The narwhal sends out a beam of clicks and then listens to the echoes that bounce back, building a detailed, three-dimensional picture of its surroundings. It can find cracks in the ice to breathe, and it can find the fish it preys upon. The buzzes you hear are what it makes when it closes in on its prey, a rapid-fire burst of sound to get the finest detail. But the whistles, the calls, the other sounds they make, what do they mean? This is their great mystery. What information is contained in these complex vocalizations? Are they communicating about social bonds, about family history, about the location of the best feeding grounds? How do they coordinate their movements as a group under a ceiling of ice that stretches for hundreds of miles? Their language is a secret that the deep, cold, and dark water keeps well. You float in the crystal clear, freezing water, a silent observer in this world of ice. The only sounds are the distant, inquisitive clicks of the narwhal, a conversation you can hear but never understand. The world is reduced to its most simple and profound elements. Cold, silence, darkness, and the stubborn, beautiful persistence of life. Let the great stillness of the poles settle into you. Let the silence quiet your mind. There is nothing to do here but be still, and listen to the quiet heart of the sleeping world. From the profound stillness of the polar seas, your consciousness expands. You are no longer in one specific place, but you are becoming aware of the entire ocean as a single, connected entity. You rise from the depths, leaving the ice and the clicking narwhals behind, and you begin to feel a movement. It is not a current carrying you from one place to another. It is a slow, majestic, and planetary scale lifting of the entire body of water around you. It is a slow, deep breath, inhaled by the ocean itself. And the force that is powering this breath hangs as a silent, silver disk in the night sky. The moon. You have felt its effects before in the rock pools of the intertidal zone. But now you feel it on a global scale. The moon, 250,000 miles away, is bound to the Earth in a gravitational dance. And its pull, though too gentle for you to feel on your own body, is powerful enough to move the world's oceans. As it passes overhead, its gravity pulls the water toward it, creating a subtle bulge on the surface of the sea. The entire ocean for thousands of miles swells gently outwards to greet it. And on the opposite side of the planet, another bulge is formed as the solid Earth is pulled slightly toward the moon, leaving the water on the far side behind. The ocean deforms into a slight oval, a shape dictated by its silent, cosmic partner. And as the Earth spins beneath this shape, every coastline on the planet passes through these two regions of high water and the two troughs of low water in between. This is the pulse of the planet. A slow, steady, and utterly reliable rhythm, a cosmic heartbeat that has been beating for billions of years. The pull of the moon. The sun, a far more massive and powerful gravitational force, also plays its part. But because it is so much farther away, its effect on the tides is less than half that of the moon. When the sun and moon are aligned, during the new moon and the full moon, their gravitational pulls work together, creating higher high tides and lower low tides. These are the spring tides, a time of cosmic harmony and dramatic change on the shoreline. When the sun and moon are at right angles to each other, their gravitational forces partially cancel each other out, leading to the gentler neap tides with the least difference between high and low water. It is a celestial alignment made visible in the waters of our own world. Most of the time, this immense transfer of energy is too slow and too vast for us to see directly. We only notice its result, the water mark on a pier, the revealed sand on a beach. But in some special places in the world, the power of the incoming tide can make itself known in a truly spectacular way. In certain long, funnel-shaped estuaries and rivers, the incoming high tide is forced into a narrow channel, and it can form a single, crisp wave or a series of waves that travels for miles upriver against the river's natural current. This is a tidal bore. It is the tide itself, made visible and audible, a silent, powerful surge of water, a reminder of the immense, unseen force that is pushing it from behind. This constant, rhythmic pulse of the ocean, this endless cycle of wetting and drying along the world's coastlines, may be more important to us than we could ever imagine. It may be tied to the very origin of life itself. It is one of the great unanswered questions of science. How did life begin? One compelling hypothesis suggests that it began right here, in the intertidal zone, in a rock pool billions of years ago. Picture a young Earth, with a moon that was much closer and tides that were much, much larger. Twice a day, this powerful tide would have washed over the volcanic rocks of the early shorelines, filling pools with water and a rich soup of chemicals from the early atmosphere and from hydrothermal vents. Then, 4 hours, the tide would recede, and the sun would beat down on these pools, evaporating the water and concentrating those chemicals, encouraging them to link together into more and more complex molecules. And then the tide would return, mixing everything up, and the cycle would begin again. Wetting and drying, concentrating and mixing. A simple, reliable, and planetary-scale chemical experiment running for millions of years. It is a beautiful thought that the moon, with its steady gravitational pull, may have been the midwife to life on Earth, its rhythmic tides providing the very engine for our own creation. This cosmic dance has a subtle, almost imperceptible effect on our planet. The friction of the tidal bulges moving across the seafloor acts as a very gentle brake on the Earth's rotation. Every year, our day gets a tiny fraction of a second longer. And as the Earth slows, that rotational energy is transferred to the Moon, which is pushed into a slightly higher orbit, moving away from us by about 1.5 inches every year. Our relationship with the Moon is a living, changing thing, playing out on a timescale of billions of years. You float now, not in any one place but in the idea of the ocean as a whole. You feel the slow 12-hour rhythm of its breath. A gentle rise and a gentle fall. It is the most constant, reliable, and soothing rhythm on our planet. Let your own breath fall into sync with this vast cosmic pulse. The pull of the moon is a gentle, reassuring hand, a reminder that you are part of a system that is immense, ancient, and deeply peaceful. Allow this planetary rhythm to rock you gently, to soothe your mind, and to carry you into a deep and profound state of rest. Your awareness now settles on the sunlit surface of the open ocean. You are no longer a disembodied observer, but you are a part of the water itself. You are a single molecule of H2O, indistinguishable from the countless others that make up the vast blue hole. You float at the very boundary between the sea and the sky, the place where two worlds meet. The great tidal rhythm lifts you and lowers you, a gentle, final rocking in the cradle of the sea. You feel the warmth of the sun on the surface, a direct and life-giving energy. And in this moment of quiet waiting, you can reflect on your own immense and ancient journey. This water, this very molecule that is you, is older than any life on this planet. Where did you come from? For a long time, it was assumed that all of Earth's water was here from the very beginning, trapped inside the planet as it formed. But a newer, more wondrous story has emerged. It is now believed that a significant portion of the water in our oceans was delivered here from space. Billions of years ago, a young dry Earth was bombarded by countless water-rich comets and asteroids, icy travelers from the outer solar system. You, this single drop of water, may have spent millions of years frozen in the heart of a comet, journeying through the blackness of space before arriving in a fiery blaze to help fill the first oceans. Our planet's great, life-giving seas are, in part, a gift from the cosmos. And this raises a beautiful, ancient puzzle. Billions of years ago, when this alien water first began to pool on the Earth's surface, the sun was much younger. It was fainter and weaker, providing perhaps only 75% of the warmth it does today. By all accounts, the planet should have been a frozen ball of ice. Yet, all geological evidence suggests that it had liquid oceans. This is the faint young sun paradox. What kept our young oceans from freezing solid? The mystery is still debated by scientists. The most likely answer is that the early Earth was wrapped in a much thicker atmospheric blanket, rich in greenhouse gases like methane and carbon dioxide, which trapped the faint sun's heat and kept the planet warm and wet and alive. The sun's warmth intensifies now on the surface. You feel its energy vibrating within you. The bonds that hold you to your fellow water molecules, The gentle pull that keeps you part of the liquid ocean begin to loosen. It is not a violent process. It is a gentle letting go. And then it happens. You become so energized, so light that you simply lift away. You have evaporated. You are no longer liquid. You are a gas, an invisible vapor, and you are rising. The ocean, the world that has been your home for this entire journey, shrinks below you. You see it now as a vast, curving expanse of blue. You rise on a column of warm, moist air, a thermal current, and you are joined by trillions upon trillions of your fellow molecules, all making the same silent, upward journey. You are weightless. You are free. You continue to rise higher and higher into the atmosphere. And as you rise, the air becomes colder. This cold begins to steal your energy, slowing you down. And it triggers the next great transformation. The cold forces you to change your state once more. You condense. You turn from an invisible gas back into a liquid. But you are not falling back into the ocean. You are now a microscopic droplet, impossibly small and light, clinging to a tiny invisible speck of salt or dust floating in the air. And you are not alone. All around you, the other water molecules that rose with you are doing the same. A community is being formed. Trillions of tiny individual droplets are gathering together, so numerous that they become visible from below. You are now part of a cloud. A great, puffy, brilliant white cumulus cloud, floating majestically in the blue sky. It looks solid like a mountain of cotton, but you know the truth. It is a place of incredible lightness, a floating congregation of tiny travelers, each one having just completed the same journey as you. A journey of renewal. You have left the ocean, but you will return. For now you simply float. You are held in the sky, high above the world, in a state of perfect, weightless peace. You have completed the great circle of your oceanic journey, from the shore to the abyss and back to the sky. You are part of the endless, beautiful, and life-giving cycle that connects the sea, the air, and the land. And now it is time to rest. Your journey for tonight is over. You have traveled from the warm sand of the shoreline down to the strange, living lights of the twilight zone. You have settled on the soft, silent floor of the abyss, watching the gentle fall of marine snow and the beautiful alien gardens that grow on the bones of fallen whales. You have felt the primal heat of the earth itself in the vibrant oases of the hydrothermal vents, and you have been carried on the slow, thousand-year-long breath of the great ocean currents. You have soared with ancient turtles guided by invisible maps, swayed in the golden-green light of underwater forests, and floated in the profound, crystalline stillness of the polar seas. You have felt the immense, cosmic pull of the moon on the tides, and you have completed the circle, rising from the surface to become part of a soft, peaceful cloud. Now it is time to let all of these stories go. Let them dissolve like salt in water. All that remains is the feeling they left behind. A feeling of connection to a world that is vast and slow and deep and peaceful. The gentle rhythms of the ocean, the sway of the kelp, the pulse of the tides, the slow sweep of the currents are now your own. There is nothing left to do and nowhere else to be. You are safe, you are calm, and you are held in the deep, quiet peace of the night. Your only task now is to surrender to the gentle downward pull of a deep and truly restorative sleep.